The Arctic does not forgive mistakes. It does not negotiate. It does not hesitate. And on that morning, the wind felt sharper than usual, slicing through the frozen silence as Arctic Ranger Ethan Walker moved steadily across the endless white expanse during what should have been a routine patrol. Then he heard it. A cry. Thin, desperate, almost swallowed by the storm. Ethan stopped instantly. Out here, every sound matters. He turned toward the source, pushing through blowing snow until the landscape opened to a partially frozen river crossed by a narrow natural ice bridge. And that's when he saw it. A polar bear cub lay trapped inside a deep ice pit, barely moving. The walls of the pit were too smooth, too steep. This wasn't natural. The ice bore tool marks deliberate, calculated cuts. The edges had been shaped to prevent escape. Claw scratches lined the inner walls, frantic attempts frozen in time. Small droplets of blood speckled the rim where the cub had torn its skin trying to climb out. The trap had been built by human hand. Ethan's gaze shifted, and that's when he saw her, the mother. Just yards away, tangled in a heavy steel net anchored to a frozen ice block driven deep into the earth. Thick cables bit into her front palm. Every movement tightened the restraint. Blood had already begun to freeze around the wound. Her eyes never left her cub. She strained toward the pit, muscles flexing uselessly against the metal that held her captive. Professional poachers, the kind who return. The temperature dropped again. Ethan checked the small display on his watch. The numbers were brutal. Snow was settling on the cub's back, forming a thin crust over its fur. Its cries were weaker now, slower. Time was collapsing. He made a decision instantly. The cub first. From his pack, Ethan pulled a heavy-duty rope, carabiners, compact pulleys, his hands moving automatically despite the cold creeping through his gloves. He secured the rope to a solid chunk of ice and fashioned a loop. First throw missed. The rope was stiff, uncooperative. Second throw slipped. The cub barely reacted. Then he heard something else. Engines. Distant at first, then clearer. Snowmobiles. They were coming back. Ethan inhaled slowly, steadied his hands, and threw again. The loop landed perfectly. He tightened it gently around the cub and began lifting, careful to avoid sharp edges that could worsen its injuries. The engines were louder now. Voices carried through the wind. Laughing. The cub reached the rim. Frost covered its body. Its breathing was shallow. Ethan wrapped it in a thermal blanket immediately, pressing it close to a snowbank for protection from the wind. Then he turned toward the mother. The trap's locking mechanism was complex, designed not just to capture, but to resist interference, and the snowmobiles were nearly there. The mother bear stopped struggling. She went still. Her breath rose in slow white clouds as she watched him. Not rage, not panic, just focus. And Ethan understood something terrifying in that moment. If he failed, it wouldn't just be a rescue gone wrong. It would be a massacre. The engines roared closer. Ethan dropped lower beside the mother bear's massive frame, using her body as partial cover while his frozen fingers worked against the intricate steel lock. The mechanism had layers, tension clamps designed to tighten under pressure. One mistake could crush her injured paw completely. Voices broke through the wind. 3 men emerged from the storm, rifles slung confidently across their shoulders. The leader, tall, gray-bearded, stopped when he saw the empty pit. His expression darkened instantly. "Someone's here." One of the others moved toward the trapped bear. Ethan's hands kept moving. Click. One layer disabled. Snow whipped sideways, blinding everyone for a second. Click. Second mechanism released. The men spotted him. There! A rifle lifted. Ethan didn't hesitate. He found the final latch, twisted hard snap. The chain dropped. The mother bear rose slowly, snow sliding off her back as she unfolded to her full height, a towering white force against the storm. For a moment, no one moved. Then chaos erupted. The poachers stumbled backward as she roared, a sound that tore through the frozen air like cracking ice. Ethan didn't stay to watch. He retreated into the snowstorm, circling back toward the cub's hiding place. Behind him, shouts and panic scrambling dissolved into the wind. By the time he looked back, the bear had already disappeared into the white. The cub was gone too. She had found him, and they had vanished deeper into the reserve. It should have ended there. But the Arctic remembers. Weeks passed. Then, months. Ethan began noticing snowmobile tracks in remote corners of his patrol routes. Cigarette butts, compressed snow where no one should have been. They hadn't forgotten. One morning in near whiteout conditions, they finally moved. 4 men stepped out from behind snow-covered trees, rifles raised. The same gray-bearded leader smirked. "Still playing hero?" Before Ethan could reach his radio, a blow struck the back of his head. He hit the snow hard. Ropes tightened around his wrists. His gear was scattered into the storm. They marched him into the most isolated stretch of the reserve where wind erases footprints and sound disappears. Then it came, a low, rolling growl that didn't belong to the storm. The men froze. Through the blowing snow, a massive white shape emerged, steady, silent, deliberate. A scar curved faintly across her front paw. It was her. The mother bear stepped directly between Ethan and the rifles, planting herself there like a living wall. She didn't charge. She didn't roar again. She simply stood. And that was enough. Fear cracked through the poachers' formation. Weapons lowered not from courage, but instinct. One man panicked and raised his rifle. That mistake broke the silence. Her roar detonated across the tundra. The men ran. They abandoned everything. Guns, packs, pride swallowed by the storm they had tried to control. The bear didn't chase. She turned instead. Toward Ethan, slowly, carefully, she approached. her massive head lowered to his bound wrists. Ethan held his breath as her jaws closed around the rope. Not crushing, precise. Fiber by fiber, she bit through the bindings. Snap. His hands were free. She stepped back, watching until he pushed himself upright. In that silent clearing, something passed between them. Not gratitude, not debt, recognition. Months ago, he had saved her cub. Today, she had saved him. Then she turned and disappeared into the white, leaving only massive paw prints behind. And in the harshest wilderness on earth, Ethan Walker understood something few ever will. Kindness does not vanish in the wild. Sometimes, it comes back for you.